I'm about to put on my pyramid with whatever this Versace geometry is around it. Well, and the pyramid is, of course, sitting on blackness, is sitting on the black land. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. This is from a brand called Ancient Aura. My nigga Maurice gave me this. Maurice. I don't want to say his last name, that's the government. But, you know what I'm saying? Maurice, he's Moorish, you know what I'm saying? And he is, you know what I'm saying? He's definitely look like a bunch of them things. Better West African niggas terms. Mauritania, Mauricio, Murano, Mermaid, and Birdman, and Barnacle Boy. We gonna read chapter 3. Should we read chapter 3? Cause it's popping, I mean, we got it. Chapter 3. The picture in here is a whole like magical number square. And left to right, boom, 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 boom. 16, 3, 2, 13. Next column, 5, 10, 11, 8. I'm sorry, next row, 5, 10, 11, 8. Next row, 9, 6, 7, 12. Next row, 4, 15, 14, 1. I was saying, if I read it in columns, vertical, horizontal, 16, 5, 9, 4. 3, 10, 6, 5. 2, 11, 7, 14. 13, 8, 12, 1. And then you could like take them and then draw a path, order them in sequence, and get the intelligence of whatever this freaking number square is. And there's a quote underneath it, and it says, "Looking for the eye of God, I saw only a socket, vast, black, and bottomless, from whence the night that dwells there streams out over the world and never deepens. A strange rainbow encircles this somber pit, threshold of the old chaos whose shadow is nothingness, spiral engulfing the worlds and days." And this is from The Christ in the Olive Grove by Gerard de Nerval. So off rip, I'm start just stopping in the middle of reading this and talk about this shit, because this shit crazy. Just say what I'm thinking. Looking for the eye of God saw only side. You saw the iris, my nigga. You saw the pupil. The Bible lets you know the apple of the eye refers to the iris, and that's what the word apple means. Apple is a pinhole. It's like the iris, the pupil is a pinhole. I'm saying, is it the pupil of the iris or the iris of the pupil? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? This rainbow around the black joint. You know what I'm saying? The rainbow serpent, some African joints. You'll see a lot of that. Mexicans as well. You know what I'm saying? Native Americans, black people around the globe, indigenous. Then the event horizon in the black hole, where all events occur at a single time. You know, be symbolically represented by the rainbow. You know what I'm saying? All timelines occurring at once. You know what I'm saying? All events on a single timeline occurring at once. You know what I'm saying? All multiple timelines occurring at once. All events on all timelines occurring at once. And the event horizon in the black hole, the 3D, 2D, man, this shit's so gravitational. It's like flat, but it's so big that it projects itself in 3D. There's some shit about the surface of the black hole. The surface of the side operate like fluids. It's all types of superfluids, plasma fluids, space-time fluids. Freaking everything's waves. All right. So chapter 3. In 1980, hold up. I ain't got no music playing. This shit weird, right? We gotta do something. So I'm diversifying this stuff. I should probably start saying what the music is. First, it was just beats. So I'll just be going around, you know what I'm saying? I don't know these niggas. I'm on YouTube, so my sound is coming from YouTube. I'm just playing YouTube while I'm watching YouTube. It's like a review video, basically. A little dinner review video while another review video is playing in the background, but you only hear the content being reviewed, not the review. The review is reflecting in my unconscious behavior. Alright. Chapter 3 go like this. In 1983, the Academic Senate of the University of Arizona adopted a resolution saying that it was a serious breach of professional ethics for any instructor to make sexual advances to a student, even for consensual sex. Rumor had it that some of the more libertine instructors had attended off-campus parties, participating in certain rites, shall we say, that the Marquis de Sade would have enjoyed immensely. At one party, orgy mongers ladled up and bottled salty drinks from a bathtub full of vodka, grape juice, and most probably urine because the toilet next to the tub was out of order. I will not drink urine, I thought, as I watched my friend John chug a mug of the purple piss, as if he were swallowing a secret remedy for eternal life. His zest for life sometimes outweighed his wisdom. He did not care what was in the tub, nor did the women around him, because they were sexually attracted to John's recklessness and the quiet violence in the bottomless depths of his intelligent eyes that barely masked his soul's turmoil. These people was getting into some hedonism. So this is also historic for like the origin why college professors is not allowed to like fuck they students. It's historical fiction, referencing that historical time period when that happened. Deafening music rocked the small apartment packed with people, and all one could see at times was an occasional nude female jumbled above uplifted arms and passed along in a fashion similar to the crowd surfing seen at concerts at football games. At this particular event, the chair of the Department of Psychology would lose his white jockey shorts, which would later be found grape-stained and hoisted above the American flag outside the university administration building. Administrators were extremely worried about the reputation of their professors, even those not engaged in sexual orgies, such as the careful scientists in the chemistry department who are more interested in federal patent law. I see Brother Panic explain that like symbolism of goat horns is a dual representation of like intellectual capacity and like sexual virility, and I would see that to say like in the sense of like taking your identity and the desire to penetrate into something either physically or like intellectually. That's why like most Western analytical processes about like peering in and breaking down and do that's like metaphorically speaking like penetrative, like the whole light thing, light piercing into darkness, that's illuminating, that's knowledge, that's masculine. That's the metaphor for intellectualism, is like a masculine sexual metaphor. So like with that, it's kind of like that's that's what's being talked about, you know what I'm saying? That's a big thing in communities of niggas who read books. And now I'm back to the book. By 1980, the U.S. Supreme Court had ruled that a genetically created new bacterium could be patented. In this same year, Martin Klein and his co-workers created a transgenic mouse, transferring the functional genes of one animal to another. By early 1983, researchers had located a genetic marker for Huntington's disease on chromosome 4, and word was out that in Denmark, scientists were attempting to clone a lamb from a developing sheep embryo cell. Genetics had made great gains since Watson and Crick defined the double helical structure of DNA in 1953, and Paul Berg cloned the first gene in 1973. University professors and scientists were scrambling to patent man-made microorganisms and had their eyes on Nobel Prize nominations, and some were taking foolish risks that were dangerous to a university's reputation. So when Dr. Lucia Farrell submitted a request for a one-year sabbatical leave to work on a special project related to a new biotechnology tool, Dean Leonard Grosch, head of the Department of Chemistry, had second thoughts about signing her leave. Oh man, yeah. They said by 1980 they ruled that genetically altered bacterium could be copyrighted. That's sort of like, that's the only way that you can like copyright food is like by genetically altering it. That's why it's legal for like companies to copyright their strain of corn or their breed of pigs or what have you, because their whatever lineage they cultivated is considered distinct from the natural organic lineages of said creature, whether it be a plant or an animal or a bacterium or fungi. I just got a video from the bull, the real Merkaba, and I'm looking through it right now so I can see where he said it. But he talks about what was mentioned. All right, yeah, he cites the Wikipedia article that talks about genetic engineering. Genetic engineering, also called genetic modification or genetic manipulation, is the direct manipulation of an organism's genes using biotechnology. It is a set of technologies used to change the genetic makeup of cells, including the transfer of genes within and across species boundaries to produce improved or novel organisms. New DNA is obtained by either isolating and copying genetic material of interest using recombinant DNA methods or by artificially synthesizing the DNA. A construct is usually created and used to insert this DNA into the host organism. The first recombinant DNA molecule was made by Paul Berg in 1972 by combining DNA from the monkey virus SV40 with the lambda virus, as well as inserting genes. This process can be used to remove or knock out genes. The new DNA can be inserted randomly or targeted to a specific part of the genome. That's from Wikipedia, and I saw that cited in the last video from the bull, the real Merkaba. So, yeah. We still in the middle of chapter 3, but this is giving this timeline of genetic engineering in this drawing, and shit about the FDA and how Monsanto can copyright foods and how Purdue can copyright animals and shit like that. I don't want to try not to go in. Overweight and bloated from habitual 3 martini lunches, Gross sat at his immaculate desk under a central ceiling light that he always left on. The bizarre effect of the unnatural light within the pervading sunlight made him look like a large salamander larva under a microscope, waiting to be probed, waiting for Dr. Lucia Farrell, who was late. The warm sunlight filtering through his office window made him sleepy, made the room look hazy to his bloodshot eyes, which were beginning to roll backward in his head. He imagined that he was flying over the Arizona desert like a hawk, a phoenix gliding sunward into the cool air, when suddenly the sun turned black, and he fell at a rapid pace, faster and faster, choking on the rushing wind, and then the desert split to swallow him, but he saw salvation, a woman rising from the abysmal rupture in the ground. She had high, delicate cheekbones, a bronze complexion, a slim figure, an ascetic quality, and with her auburn hair pulled away from her face, she resembled one of Renoir's young Frenchwomen. For a moment, Gros stared at her like a man in love, then he gasped in revulsion, for it was Lucia who had caught him dozing. Lucia was well aware that Grosch's gluttonous drinking habits could ruin his reputation, and for this was not the first time she had caught him sleeping at his desk. Disgusted, she stood by the sunny window, waiting for Grosch to recover and say something. Instead, he straightened his red power tie, cocking his thick neck like a cobra ready to strike, and his tongue licked his sticky lips for leftover vodka. Suddenly, he moved his large head toward the sunlight where Lucia stood. The overhead light glinted off of his balding scalp as he spat words out of his mouth like venom. Venom. This leave is a privilege, an opportunity for research, and an investment towards increasing the programs of study at our university, he blurted, he sounded more drunk than that, unmoving like a hawk, guarding the university's reputation and the remains of his own, for as dean he was responsible for approving her research plans. Lucia watched Grosch quietly, unerringly calm, professional in her knee-length dove-gray suit, and with obvious disinterest. She shifted slightly towards the window into the sunlight, which emboldened her small features and red hair. Outside, students were talking in groups, the Arizona sun beating down on them with its 103-degree heat. Lucia paused long enough to make Grosch uneasy, and he instantly glanced away from her perceptive eyes, onto the detailed description of her work in front of him. He had a high, wrinkled forehead, balding to a shock of white hair, large fleshy earlobes, a gnarly look from too much sun and alcohol, and a certain idiocy about his face, the look of a ham-fisted peasant, like one of Van Gogh's potato eaters, fogged up his face, but he was much better dressed than a field laborer in his light blue shirt and gray suit. "Leonard," she said, "if my research supports this thesis, you can retire famous." Grosh glared at her, his blood thinned, hawkish eyes, yellow from too many martinis sharpening. Where is Vincent Van Gogh from? Van Gogh was calling white people, was calling basic people who was white around him, majority speaking, more than likely, or whatever section of Europe he's from. Was calling up potato eaters. I heard Chinese people be calling white people potato eaters. Vincent Van Gogh. He's from France. Oh, but he was born in the Netherlands. Isn't that Von? That's like some Slavic shit, right? Whatever. This is a lineage. They all over the place. Gross stared at Lucia, his blood thinned, hawkish eyes yellow from too many martinis, sharpening. "So you think the release of free oxygen had a fundamental effect on the biosphere?" he said. Lucia glanced towards Grosh with conviction. The Earth's early atmosphere contained very little free oxygen 3.8 billion years ago. The key change came with photosynthesis, the process used by green plants, algae, and some bacteria, in which the energy from sunlight is used to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. "This isn't the classroom, Lucia. I know what photosynthesis is," said Grosh, turning the pages of her application, his curiosity widening as he searched for her thesis statement. With passionate intensity, Lucia continued, her full face lit by the sun, her eyes bright and edged in mystery, possessed as they were by the desire for ultimate knowledge. Like a falconer, she reeled in Grosh, tightening the grip she had on his arrogant mind. "Free oxygen," she said, "was originally confined to oases in the oceans, while the atmosphere remained oxygen-free. Then about 2 billion years ago, the entire global ocean became oxygenated and life diversified into a full range of life forms as we know it." That boy, Arturo, whatever, the Mexican nigga who made the book Melanin, the Master Molecule, he talks about melanin allegedly having the ability to split water molecules when interacted with sunlight and water. And melanin definitely photosynthesizes ionizing radiation. That's found in like fungi and Chernobyl and stuff. Like that's bit and boogies, whatever. So 2 billion years ago, that's about the time I think they said in episode 1 of Cosmos about that certain protein. So 2 billion years ago, the entire global ocean became oxygenated and life diversified into the full range of life forms as we know it. As she spoke, Grosh finally... Wait, did I actually read the last couple words on that last page? Yeah. As she spoke, Grosh finally zeroed in on her written thesis statement. A sudden ghastly pallor colored his swollen, ruddy face. "And you think that the oxygenation of the deep sea resulted from the deposits of feces?" Grosh paused as a bead of sweat trickled down his wrinkled forehead. "Yes, Leonard," Lucia harmonized, releasing her mental grip on the old hawk. "Feces deposits from animals with sophisticated digestive systems, causing the seeds to become open to oxygen-breathing life and the evolution of humans. Eventually, long time after." You know what's in feces, though, right? You see, that was, to me, that was a little piece of humor. That was a piece of humor. Because there's certain proteins and certain chemicals in microscopic life that cause the release of free radical oxygen. So she's saying that the humor in saying that it's the feces of a higher life form that didn't require oxygen at all, but still produced the necessary protein inside, like, it's a joke. But, like, it's a joke we all know. It's doo-doo brown, doo-doo brown, doo-doo brown, doo-doo brown. That's what that is. What you call it? Speechless, Grolsch fumbled with his nose, as if he had been snorting cocaine along with drinking martinis. Yes, it all came down to shit, biochemical and academic. Still, he would approve her request because of her reputation. Lucia Farrell, age 42, was a graduate of the University of Oxford, where her research centered on quantum theory, particularly the theory of molecular properties. Years of isolated study and thought had provided a strong ground for her research interests, which she proved by means of the scientific method, enlightened by intuition. Grosch envied her credentials. An unbearable amount of time seemed to pass as he read the details of the research plan. Yet Lucia was unaffected and seemed to be more interested in the dean's bookshelves than his response. She found a compass on one shelf and was measuring magnetic north when Grosch finally scribbled his name on the request. Then he stared at Lucia. Once a sabbatical leave is approved, the member must carry out the project as exactly described in the application for sabbatical leave. Lucia looked calmly at the pompous Grosch, her lips curling into a thin, melancholy smile, for the dean did not know that he had just made a pact with Durer's dark angel. Durer, D-U-R-E-R. Since Albrecht Durer engraved Melancholia I, Melancholia 1 in 1514, no one has been able to come up with a convincing interpretation explaining the meaning of the seated Saturn angel in the alchemical laboratory, holding its head up with the left hand while the right holds a compass. A squamous form in front of the angel that looks like a mutant embryo with a sheep head curls between a white sphere and a large geometric shape or distorted cube stretched into 6 pentagonal faces and 2 equilateral triangles sitting next to a ladder. On the grindstone between the sullen angel and the misshapen cube is a winged sexless spirit, a forlorn hermaphroditic cherub. 4 faces inhabit the woodcut, along with a starry sun, a rainbow, a dead calm sea, an equally balanced set of scales, and an hourglass with equal amounts of sand. The magic square with 16 numbers hanging directly above the angel's head has puzzled mathematicians and theorists since 1514. Adding the numbers across, down, or diagonally always gives 34, a number somehow related to the distorted geometric stone that is the object of the angel's melancholia. The weary angel is deep in thought, almost despairing, as if the choice for transformation were something disturbing. Scholars have interpreted the cryptic engraving as a symbol of the beaten intellect of the creative genius. But Lucia believed the masterpiece was additional proof for her thesis on the afterlife transformation described by the Egyptian funerary texts. It was this thesis she was working on, not the one on free oxygen she peddled to Grosch. Like her grandfather, Sir William Petrie, Lucia was obsessed with uncovering the meaning of the Egyptian legacy locked within the funerary text. She was ready to risk her reputation to expose the truth. Now that Grosch had agreed to her leave, Lucia could accomplish 2 objectives: her cloning experiment and the out-of-body drug testing on John Friedman. And his name's like Friedman. And that picture she talking about, that's this, and Robert Edward Grant, I'm pretty sure, or some other mathematician he was linked up with, probably the boy who do the BART project. These old white niggas, they're amazing mathematicians and engineers and, from my perspective, wonderful human beings. I don't know them that well, but he had something breaking down at least the geometry of this thing, and then other scholars probably could break down the symbolism and the rest of this picture. But I'm pretty sure Robert Edward Grant got a joint. He got Reconnaissance Science Foundation. He's a mathematician. He worked with a lot of other mathematicians. He know what he talking about. Hey, he been talked about this. And you know, there's some 5-6 going on, relationship 5 and 6 and ratios. And that's all real important stuff. You know what I'm saying? He gonna talk about it. In the sacred geometrical detrical. You know what I'm saying? But what you call it? That's chapter 3, man. So we're gonna take a break right there. Yeah.